Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we are on my roof. Yes, I'm being safe. It's fine. Do not come for me for health and safety. Do not attempt at home. This is done by a professional. All of the required safety lingo that I'm supposed to say for legal purposes has now been said. That being all said, I'm enjoying the sun. Just got back from having a nice evening with my dad. We watched a show and just hung out, and it was awesome. And I wanted to talk about humility and how it can lead to greater wisdom. So, we're just going to get right into it because you know me. So, this video was inspired by a quote from a children's television show. So if you've ever heard of Avatar: The Last Airbender, there is a scene where an old wise character tells a young, rash character that pride prevents wisdom and it prevents learning. And the only way that you can really become wise and that you can really become insightful and find inner peace is to be humble and to have humility with everything that you do. And it got me thinking about humility in general and how our entire society is basically designed on people resisting being humble, resisting being down to earth and having humility. And what I mean by that is the people we glorify in our world are the richest, the prettiest, the best, the strongest, the fastest. We prioritize the pinnacle of success, what we deem to be success. And because of that, humility is sorely lacking in society. But it's also funny that when you come across an individual who is very humble and lives their life with humility, they are some of the most interesting people. I mean, you tend to stop whatever you're doing and listen to them. You know, these are people that make a loud room quiet. And they're usually people who are incredibly wise. They could educate a lot of people, but they choose to just keep quiet and share their knowledge and their wisdom with those who are willing to be humble enough to listen. And I think in this show, the character who tells the younger character that pride prevents you from learning, prevents you from gaining wisdom and knowledge, it's really true, because if you think you are the best person in the room, if you think you know what you're doing, if you think you have the skills and the qualifications to basically deal with whatever you're dealing with, you're going to go into any situation and you're not going to be prepared to learn. You're not going to be prepared to take criticism or to change what you're doing because you're so confident and proud of the way you've always done it. And I think that's a real problem in society because we need humility now more than we've ever needed it. There is so much ego in politics. There is so much ego in the celebrity world. There is so much ego in science and technology. I mean, these scientists, like, you listen to some of them, you listen to some of the ones that describe themselves as the best in the world, and they have so much ego and so much pride, and, you know, they're not willing to accept different theories or different concepts. And it's a tale as old as time. The prideful people, like, pride comes before the fall, and it really does. Yeah, and so I think this is such an interesting topic. And I have always tried to live my life understanding that I know nothing, understanding that I am a young kid who has no idea what he's doing. I fall back on positivity and just being a genuinely kind human being. I'm really lucky that I was born with this, like, innate curiosity and this innate interest in other people and, like, their lives and who they are, because the small conversations that I have with older people or younger people, like there are kids that have so much wisdom to teach you if you can be humble enough to listen to them. Um, and the old guy on the street, all he wants to do is share his knowledge. He's been around the sun a lot longer than I have. He's been going around for years and years and years. And what he wants to do is impart some of his wisdom, and hopefully it'll make my life a little bit easier. So, who am I to act all prideful or pretend like he doesn't know what's going on because technology has changed? I think there's a lot of young people today who think that just because the world is different than it was in the 1950s, that old people have nothing to teach us, which is so wrong. Um, and in the same token, there are old people who think that young people have nothing to teach them. But I think true wisdom is understanding that everybody has wisdom. Everybody has a story. Everybody has knowledge that they are willing to share. And sometimes they're not willing to share, but you can learn it regardless. I mean, wisdom is something that is transmitted regardless of intention. You can witness or just interact with somebody, and they're not trying to share some like celestial wisdom with you. They're just trying to live their life. And by doing that, you can gain a rare insight into a particular subject, or you can gain some wisdom from them. But at the end of the day, you have to be humble enough to be quiet and to listen. And I don't know, I think this has been kind of like a running theme in my life for the last few years, um, where I'm a lot more interested in listening to people's stories than I am telling my own. And now with the social media, it's kind of fun where I get to communicate and interact with so many people. And we're constantly like sharing wisdom. We're talking about our lives, we're talking about our interests. And I think something that's kind of interesting, and I'm quite I don't really talk about it a lot, but it's interesting that I get a lot of comments from people saying like, "Wow, I can't believe you responded. Like I can't believe like you messaged me." It's like, well, you had an interesting question, or you had an interesting comment, or I had a question. Um, but I think social media and the internet is a place full of pride. It's full of bravado and keeping up appearances and trying to have the newest, latest stuff and wearing brand name clothing. Like it's this constant struggle of, am I good enough? I have to be good enough. And there's a lot of like, fake it till you make it. And that's all well and good. And I'm not trying to criticize anybody who's just living their life and trying to make a living or trying to, have some self confidence. But I think a little bit of humility from some of these people would alleviate a lot of the stress and anxiety and anger that our society has. And I think just openly accepting, like, I am this young, dumb human. I don't understand how the world works. I don't understand how politics works. I have no working understanding of the way the universe works or why I'm on this earth or how this camera works. I don't understand any of this, but I'm openly admitting that I don't know. And that's okay. It's okay. And it's okay to be wrong. And it's okay to say, look, I screwed up. I didn't know what I was doing. Teach me what you know. But our society is so afraid of admitting that. I mean, it's like we are terrified of admitting when we're wrong. I did a video on this a while ago about, you know, just accepting your ignorance and accepting that you know nothing. And yeah, I think this concept of humility really can't be overstated. I think one of the things that makes a character in a TV show wise, you look at different cartoon characters or things like that. Like, it doesn't have to be a cartoon, but you look at any character in any movie or something that you find wise, you know? Robin Williams' character in Good Will Hunting is a good example. That fly just attacked me. Sorry. Um, Robin Williams' character in Good Will Hunting is a character who I really look up to and who I don't know, he's just one of these very wise characters, the character that I associate with wisdom. And like in the movie, he admits when he's wrong. He admits, like, he has open dialogue with Will, with Matt Damon's character. And they they communicate in this very down to earth, humble way. I mean, one of the ways that um, Robin Williams' character gets Matt Damon's character to open up to him is, their shared background, where they came from. And he's humble enough. He's this distinguished psychologist, and he's humble enough to say, "Oh yeah, I grew up here, and I know that I know how you grew up, and like I understand." Like he's willing to cross over to the other side and admit, like, "Yeah, I was like you, like I struggle with this stuff. I've had my ups and downs." He shares his life and the failures and the different things that he's done in his life. He isn't like the proud mathematician who Will wants nothing to do with, and the humility is what really allows their relationship to become something that's so constructive, and then Will is able to go off and do great things. And so you see these characters and even in your daily life, you see people who you just associate with wisdom and with this incredible knowledge. I think of my four grandparents as really good examples of humility and wisdom. And I think that's what we should all aspire to be. But we won't get there unless we admit and we're open with the fact that we've got insecurities. We don't understand what's going on. We can't know everything and have a good working knowledge of the universe. No one does, you know? So I don't know. This is a little bit of a existential rant, but I'm really interested to know your comments on this. Humility and just being humble is something that it's a funny subject to talk about, because it's hard to talk about something when the very basis of the thing you're trying to talk about is you're not supposed to talk about it. Like you can't tell somebody, "Oh yeah, I'm super humble." That completely defeats the purpose of what humility is. And so it's a topic that just doesn't get talked about because it's kind of a paradox, like it's the person proclaiming that I am the most humble person in the universe becomes the most prideful person in the universe and becomes the exact opposite of what they're proclaiming to be. And maybe that's part of the reason why humility isn't very seen in our society. Like, when is the last time you saw a politician being humble? Left or right, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. When is the last time you saw a proper politician, a well-known, high-ranking politician, exhibit some true humility and say, like, "Guys, I screwed up," or said something like, just was down to earth? We don't get that in politics. Some of our most beloved actors are really humble people. Like, if you think of any of the biggest artists, whether they're musicians, whether they're film actors, if you think of some of the most beloved ones that have just huge approval ratings and they're just beloved treasures, I bet you 90% of them are super humble. And I bet you that's wise, because humility is something that is seen and not told. It can't be told to someone like, "Oh, I'm super humble." You can't do that. That's not humility. And so it becomes this really interesting part of life. And I think it's one of the characteristics that makes humans immediately like other humans. We talk about first impressions, and I think one of the best ways to make a first impression is just humility and accepting when you're wrong, owning up to your mistakes, and just being down to earth, forgetting all of the bravado and the persona and just being real, because life is way too short to be anything other than real. Yeah, so that's all I want to say. I want to hear your comments. Thank you for listening. If you're still here, I'm so grateful. I know I say it a lot, but I am. Some days I really can't believe that anybody listens to me. I'm just like, wow, people actually watch the video. And like, I read your comments, and I'm just eternally grateful that there are other people who are kind of interested in you know, just trying to search out how to be a good person and how to live a life worth living. So, if you are still listening, please know that I am so amazed by you. You are so cool to be able to listen to me rant and like leave a comment and be like, "You know what? Like I totally disagree with you, Jax." And I'm like, "That's fair, you know? Like please do." I am not above being called out for dumb things I say because I say a lot, but um yeah, I'm grateful. I hope you have a beautiful day. Here, I'll show you the sun over the valley. Just a boy on his roof, hanging out. But yeah, guys, I hope you have a beautiful day. Of course, I will talk to you tomorrow, and just live, breathe, be who you are. Talk to you tomorrow.